Inner product space is the title of the second section of Unit 2. Inner product space is basically a vector space over F, where F can be either the field of real numbers or complex numbers, together with an operation called an inner product. This connects two vectors to give a scalar, and this definition enables us to describe about the length of a vector, angle between two vectors, and so on. Moreover, in product of two vectors being a scalar, it is established in Cauchy's inequality that the absolute value of inner product of two vectors, say u and v, is at the most the product of the length of the two vectors, the length of u and length of v. So, Gram-Schmidt process of converting a basis into an orthonormal basis is also given in this section. So, when we consider inner product space, remember that our F can be either a field of real numbers, or it can be field of complex numbers. In the first case, we call it as a real vector space, and in the second case, we call it as a complex vector space. Now, you will see the definition, the formal definition of a vector space or a field F, and then we will also see a few examples. A vector space V over F is said to be an inner product space if there is defined for any two vectors uv in capital V an element which we denote in this way. Inner product uv is called an inner product. This operation is called an inner product in F, satisfying the following properties. So this is inner product uv is equal to inner product vu conjugate. This is termed as conjugate symmetry, and we will call it as IP1, IP2, IP3, the three axioms. The second one is called positive definiteness, which states that inner product UU is non-negative and it is equal to 0 if and only if U is 0. And the third one, which is called linearity property, and we have inner product of alpha u plus beta v with w to be equal to alpha into inner product uv uw plus inner beta into inner product vw, where we take the elements u v w from capital V, and the scalars alpha and beta are naturally from capital F. So we want to make this remark that we use the common notation this with angle brackets denoting an inner product, because some people use parentheses instead, but that is reserved for an ordered pair, so we use the angle bracket. So an inner product which we denote in this way is basically a function from V cross V to R, or it can be C also. As we have described earlier, our F can be either R or C, so we have this. Mostly we will be dealing with the real numbers, so here it's mentioned in this way. Now we can see, suppose we have, instead of having this linear expression in the first place, suppose we have it in the second one, then what should be that? So when alpha, this is in the second place, when alpha comes out, it will come out as conjugate alpha, and beta, when it comes out, it will come out as beta conjugate. So how this could happen? You consider this inner product U with alpha V plus beta W. Now by conjugate symmetry, you can rewrite like this. So you have here you can make use of linearity property so that you have this. So you have ultimately inner product VU conjugate to be by again this IP1 to be this. So this is how we write then. When alpha and beta are in the second place, you have, when you take them out, they will come out with conjugate. Okay. Then inner product of U with vector 0 is always 0. Remember that inner product of two vectors is always a scalar. So here this 0 represents vector, whereas this 0 represents scalar. So inner product of the vector u with 0 can be written as inner product of u with 0 plus 0. Now make use of this. So you have inner product u0 plus inner product u0, giving back inner product u0. This can happen only if you have this to be the additive identity, which is present in F scalar. Okay, so you have inner product of these two vectors. to be the scalar 0. So similarly, you can prove that inner product of 0 with u is also 0, right? Now we will see examples where we can have vector space along with the inner product. The standard inner product we will consider in R power n and C power n, the Euclidean space. Okay, n dimensional Euclidean space. So there we will consider the standard inner product, which is defined. See, in the case of this, we have inner product UV being defined as, all of them will be ordered n tuples. So you have just alpha 1 with beta 1 plus alpha 2 with beta 2 plus alpha n into beta n. So this is the usual product of real numbers, right? So inner product UV, when you define in this way, we can easily check all the three axioms for this to be an inner product space. We know pretty well that this is a vector space under coordinate wise addition and scalar multiplication over R. Over R, this forms a vector space, is known to us already, and inner product in this case is defined in this way. So in particular, you can have it in R2, in particular you can have in R3. So these are called standard inner products. In R2, R3, when you define the inner product in this way, they are called standard inner products defined on R2, R3 and so on. So just you multiply coordinate wise and then sum up. So when you add them up, you will get the inner product. Inner product of two vectors is always a scalar. So in the same way, C power n, that is collection of all ordered n tuples where each component is a complex number. So in that case, how this inner product is defined? So here because we have each component to be complex number, you can have it as alpha 1 beta 1 conjugate, alpha 2 beta 2 conjugate and so on, alpha n beta n conjugate. So you have the same way you can define as we had in the case, the previous case, but here because of the complex number we have this alpha 1 beta 1 conjugate and so on. Okay, so these two are called standard inner products on Rn and Cn. Okay, now this vector space also we have already come across. Let this be the collection of all continuous complex valued functions on closed interval 0, 1. We can define the inner product of two functions, f of t and g of t, as interval 0 to 1 f of t g of t conjugate. Okay, had it been defined over collection of all continuous real valued functions, then in that case without conjugate you will have, but in this otherwise with the same definition we can have that to be an inner product on V. Right, now we will consider it's not that always that we need to have this component wise multiplication and then sum of all those elements. So but we can also define, say for example in R2, if we define, you consider two vectors, say u and v, ordered pair alpha 1 alpha 2, v another ordered pair beta 1 beta 2, and define inner product of u and v as 2 times alpha 1 beta 1 minus alpha 1 beta 2 alpha 2 beta 1 plus 5 times alpha 2 beta 2. We can check the three axioms IP1, IP2, IP3, and we can easily establish that under that inner product also my R2 becomes an inner product space. That is the standard inner product. In the problems, if nothing is mentioned, the standard inner product is to be taken. Otherwise, depending on the inner product given in the problem, if further calculations are to be done, with that only we'll have to calculate. So in C2 we define this is another way. Already we know how the what is the standard way of defining inner product. This is another way of defining. So you can have it as 2 alpha 1 beta 1 conjugate plus alpha 1 beta 2 conjugate, alpha 2 beta 1 conjugate and alpha 2 beta 2 conjugate. Then we can verify that this also defines an inner product on C2. Now in the case of collection of all 2 cross 2 matrices, in the case of, we know very well that F2 stands for collection of all 2 cross 2 matrices over F. So here again F can be either the field of real numbers or complex numbers. we define for any two matrices in F2 inner product AB to be trace of A transpose B. See, given any matrix A with entries say A, B, C, D, for example, A, B, C, D, then we know how to compute our A transpose. So we'll have to just interchange the rows and columns. So you will have AC and here you have BD. So A transpose, in that way we calculate. A B is another matrix. Say for example you have it as A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. You have another 2 cross 2 matrix. So how do we compute A transpose B? That is known to us. So having computed A transpose B, now we have another term called trace. TR stands for the function, trace function. So trace is nothing but the sum of the main diagonal entries. We shall compute A transpose B later, and then we will just find out the sum of the main diagonal entries. So sum of the main diagonal entries, when you consider, that will give the trace. So this is trace of A transpose, in this case A plus D. Trace of B, you have A prime plus D prime. In the same way, you compute first A transpose B and then the trace. That is the sum of the main diagonal entries. That is the trace. So we can even verify that under this inner product, this F2 becomes an inner product space. Then one more R2. In R2, we can have one more inner product being defined in this way. This also we can check whether it satisfies all the 3 axioms. It will satisfy all the 3 axioms. So under this inner product also, our R2 becomes an inner product space. And in R3, now we are going to have examples where when you change either your inner product or your vector space, you need not have that to be an inner product. See, for example, we shall consider R3. In R3, the same way in which you have defined your inner product in R2. And the same 2 alpha 1 beta 1 plus 3 times alpha 2 beta 2. In R2, we can establish that this is an inner product, whereas here any entry will be an ordered triplet. There ordered pair, here ordered triplet, alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. So in this case, when you compute your positive definiteness, that is inner product UU, when you compute, you should have it as greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so you should have this to be greater than or equal to 0, and of course when you compute U to be this, you have that to be greater than 0 undoubtedly. But we also have that whenever you have inner product UU to be 0, whenever you have inner product UU to be 0, you must have your U to be 0, and the other way around also. So, but that is not satisfied here. The reason is, when you compute inner product of U with itself, you are making use of this inner product. So U with U means you will have 0 with 0. So it will be 0, 0, 3. That is one vector. And the same vector, with that only we are finding the inner product. So when we compute this, we will have 0 with 0. So twice of that, and 0 with 0, thrice of that. Okay, so that is how it is defined. So that definitely you get inner product UU to be 0 undoubtedly. But do we have U to be 0? Only when you have all the entries to be 0, you can call that to be a 0 vector in R3. So U is not 0, but inner product UU becomes 0. So that should not be the case. As for IP2 is concerned, our IP2 says that inner product UU is equal to 0 if and only if U is equal to 0. So here U is non-zero, but yet the inner product is 0. So if that is the case, then we cannot call that inner product this operation to be an inner product. So because it is not an inner product, under this inner product, my R3 is not an inner product space. we don't say that R3 is not at all an inner product space. But under this operation, it doesn't form an inner product space. Now in the same way, so here R2 we consider the same inner product we had. So R2, here R3, inner product was the same. So here we are going to define in R3 inner product of U and V to be alpha 1 beta 1 plus alpha 1 beta 2 alpha 1 beta 3. Then this does not define inner product for if U is 1 2 3 and V is 2 3 4. Then when you compute your inner product UV, you have this to be 9 and inner product VU to be 12. So they are not the same. But what is the first condition? IP1 is what? IP1 is inner product UV should be equal to inner product VU conjugate. But when you are in a real number, this conjugate doesn't play any role. So you have inner product UV to be not equal to inner product VU. So we have the inner product when it is changed. Inner product when it is changed. We had in other cases, that is in the standard inner product, we had that to be this, even if you can take your n as 3. So in this case, it is an inner product space. But whereas in this case, it is not an inner product space. So space is the same, inner product is different. You don't have the R3 to be an inner product space. Here space is different, inner product is the same, but this one under this in this R3 under this inner product, we don't have the conditions to be satisfied. So by changing the vector spaces or by changing the inner product, we may or may not have the given vector space to be an inner product space or not. So next we have the length of V, length of a vector. So that is denoted as this parallel lines, and it is read as norm of V. So whenever we look at this notation, we'll have to read it as norm of V. And that is described as square root of inner product VV. Inner product of two vectors is always a scalar. So you have norm being defined as being the length, even though, say, suppose when I compute this, I get it as say square root of 4. Then you will have actually to be this one plus or minus 2. Being length, we consider only the positive value. So we will stop with this.